sticking around. My name is Jacqueline Coley. I'm the awards editor at Rotten Tomatoes, and it is my honor, thank you, to moderate this incredible conversation with the cast of the film you just watched, Oppenheimer. So without further ado, please allow me to welcome to the stage Mr. Robert Downey Jr., Emily Blunt, and of course, Oppenheimer himself, Cillian Murphy. Hello.
Before we start, I just want to ask everyone to take it easy on Emily tonight.
Don't do it.
She had two colas, which are, I guess, Dwayne Johnson's energy drinks. Zoas. And then a margarita. So this is like a speedball.
I didn't have two margaritas. She offered me another one and I said no.
Thank you.
Because I'm a professional. I'm here to talk to you about a very important movie.
All right, so after that light finger.
I will say, after that incredible reception, I want to thank you all so much. And I am so blessed that I get to talk to the folks here, but I want to remind everyone, when this conversation is over, please hold your seats because they literally have to rush out of here. They got flights, they got places to go.
I'm having a shingles eruption.
So please don't come up here. I know, it's hard.
Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
They had to hold me backstage. Cillian, sir, I have not spoken to you since July when we got to speak to the film before the strike, and I'm so happy to book in this moment because the day that the film was released and then the day that it came on to like Blu-ray and digital was when the strike ended, and so I feel like this film has like such a bookend for me is because now we can talk about it again. I wanted to ask you though, since you've been away from it, I know you've been back home doing things with the family, have you had a moment to sort of reflect on your time playing Oppenheimer? Because I know at the time it was just this breakneck pace and you were really trying to just be faithful to the script, and I know that you're humble enough that you weren't thinking about much more than that, but have you had a chance to reflect on it and sort of taken away something from your experience playing him and again, sort of the reception?
Oh, well, the reception has been extraordinary, and it was, as you say, kind of bizarre. And when we finished the premiere in London, we did the red carpet, and then we went on strike, so it was just kind of done very abruptly, and then the movie came out, and then it had this amazing response from audiences, and so many people went to see it, and we were all just kind of texting, kind of in shock. Lots of emojis. So it was.
Did you send in your Brinks truck emoji?
When y'all are getting close to 1 billion, I bet, yeah.
So it's a thing that it takes a while to kind of process that. I think for all of us, for Chris, for Emma, for everyone involved in the movie. It takes a while, and I think it's lovely now to come and to talk to you guys and to be able to interact with audiences and to actually be able to sort of process it a little bit. But I don't know, I'm still figuring it out, I guess, yeah.
It's humble as ever, man. I appreciate that. Have you all gotten a chance, because again, since you left at the premiere, you didn't get a chance to watch it with an audience. Have you all had the moment to have a communal experience with the film with an audience, all three of you? Did you not?
I saw it in Paris. Yeah.
Oh, you did see it in Paris, so you've had that one.
Audience, yeah.
Have you had the chance to see it with like a regular audience, Emily or Robert?
Blunt saw it in Nyack.
I did. I went to Nyack, New York, and we managed to get the two last seats at the IMAX at the opening weekend, and we went to a 4 p.m. screening when I saw a group of teenagers coming in with pipes dangling out of their mouths dressed as him. I thought that was unbelievable, and I got goosebumps. It was just, I texted Cillian afterwards. I was like, you're not gonna believe what I saw. It was just so cool.
What about you, sir? Did you get a chance?
I didn't get a chance to see it, so I screened it in East Hampton for everyone.
Same thing.
This blows doors off Nyack, honey. And I invited everyone that I thought was out there around this time of year, and everybody RSVP'd. And right before the movie started, I sat down, and Paul McCartney was sitting next to me. And I was watching the movie and also just kind of listening to him breathe for 3 hours.
he a heavy breather?
No, but I was attuned to him because, I thought this might never happen again. And it was incredible to see this. I mean, y'all know it just happened to have this communal experience, to see something that is so purely cinematic. It's just exquisite.
Thank you for saying that. Cillian, I want to talk to you about specific scenes in this now, because when we were doing this originally, we didn't want to spoil anything for anyone. I mean, obviously we know the bomb blows up, but there's a lot in between there. And so there were scenes we couldn't talk about, but now with this audience, everyone's seen it, we can sort of dive in. I'd love for you to talk about one scene that I've actually spoken to Ludwig Göransson about, and that is the scene after they do the bomb and he's having that sort of strange out-of-body experience where he's getting this adulation. It feels almost like a horror movie in that moment. And again, going back to it, I've now read the script. The stage direction in that moment was just so incredible because it was the conflict within the character. And I'd love for you to talk about, again, in a room full of performers, what you were sort of accessing in that moment as an actor, because it is such a delicate thing that you were trying to convey. And if folks read the script, they'll understand what I mean in that. And so how did you set up that part of the performance on that day? And what were you trying to sort of convey? Because he's not speaking, but he's saying so much.
Well, first of all, we actually shot that scene in Fuller Lodge in Los Alamos, in the real environment that those scientists would have been in and socialized in and hung out in. And remember, we shot there, and you could, Chris did that very deliberately. So, I'm not a superstitious guy, but I do believe in you feel the vibrations in a place, you feel the energy in a room, and there was something about the history of that room. So I remember it wasn't even a full day for that. Remember, we did that bit outside first, and then it was like a half a day to do that scene. And I don't think we talked very much about it, myself and Chris, because with those sorts of scenes, all you really need to do is just think about what happened, and what actually happened. And then I was very aware that at that point it was like about the dilemma and the conflict and the contradiction and all of those things that he was trying to deal with. And so we shot it really quickly, and I remember the extras were fucking fantastic. They were actually not extras. There were a lot of actors, and just they were really giving in the scene. And I don't know, we just did it. But like sometimes with those things, the themes are so huge, and the dilemmas are so huge. You just have to think about it. You don't really have to talk about it.
Well, again, it was breathtaking to watch, and the score underneath that Ludwig does just adds even more to that tension and craziness. Mr. Robert Downey Jr., sir, another thing, again, folks, that I want to say that the...
Don't worry, it's not like you skipped anyone.
I'm going to get to her as well. I'm not going to not talk to her.
What? I'll be answering her questions.
I have an order to this. Hold on.
Do you need like 5 more Red Bulls or anything? Or are you gonna be all right?
No, we're going to get there. I wanted to talk to you about the opening scene, and so that's why I wanted to bring yours first, because now that I've gotten a chance to read the script, I've gotten to see how brilliant that 3rd page of that script is, because it tells so much about Strauss, your character, and also Alden's character, who doesn't even have a real name. He's called the Senator's Aide.
I kept trying to give all the name, and Chris said, that's not necessary.
Well, wait a minute. He's right, though. So
I was like the SAG rep, I was like, I don't know, what name might I have? I was like, I'm working on it with Chris. He was like, how about just Senator's Aide? That's what I wrote. Steve, anyone? Not too late, we can change the credits.
Well, but this is important though, because I wanted to say his anonymity really adds to that scene. And because the thing I appreciated about it is in that scene, there's one line that's repeated that you first give to him and that he gives back to you right before he ushers you into your butt kicking, and that is, who would want to defend an entire life?
Yeah, who wants to defend their...
And I thought that was so careful, because when you were saying it as a brush off, and when he was saying it as a threat. I'd love for you to talk about how you were playing that scene, because I think it's really illustrative of the character. It shows how much he underestimates those around him.
Yeah, and back to Chris, in the script, it opens and it says fission. and it intros our hero. And it says fusion, and it intros Strauss and his point of view. I just remember that day we're at the Baton Memorial building in Santa Fe, and I think it was the first day. I think might have been the first thing we shot anyway. So I was kind of in my body and just trying to establish something. And I was realizing, you know, as we all did, what his rhythms are and the way he works, and it's so efficient that the only thing that could possibly go wrong is you. And it was good, you know. We know all that one. It's mortifying to start sometimes, and then but like my missus always says, you know, once the first clapper goes, half your problems go away because the anticipation is gone and you're in it. But I'm glad you noticed that first scene because it is so critical. And great directors know that a character's introduction is the only thing you have to get right.
And it is so pitch perfect. Again, I encourage all of you. You can buy it at a bookstore and you can download it online. It is poetry. Miss Emily Blunt, ma'am, I'm coming to her seat. I got it. Well, this was important, and I wanted to give a minute before I mentioned TikTok so that I didn't show how crazy I am. But I want to say, has anyone seen her on TikTok doing the 16, 17, 18? Please tell me I'm not the only one. Anyone? Yes, thank you, appreciate you. One other person, okay. Well, I don't know how many people here are on TikTok. I feel like I'm aging myself just slightly as well, too, because I know I'm chronically online. But let me explain this one. The scene where you are finally taking a moment to defend your husband in this, and that counting scene, and I've read the script now, and I've seen how Oppenheimer sees her in that moment, and he sees her as like a Valkyrie, basically, and just how she is avenging it. And I thought it was just such a delicious scene, and I haven't got to talk to you about it because I lived for everything you were doing in that. Her just disdain for them, but not letting them rest for 1 minute to know that it's like, I'm smarter than all of you. And I'm not as kind as my husband. So I would love to talk about what you were trying to access as an actor in that scene, because again, it was so delicious.
I think it was a fantastic setup, I realized, because at that point she's so unpredictable and volatile and dangerous potentially, and has lost dignity and people's belief in her other than his. And I love that they've walked through fire together and that he does believe in her. And, you know, I remember reading that in the script, that she's not quite walking in a straight line going in there, you know. And amazing Jason Clarke, I just have to like give props to like him as just the most ferocious, intimidating prosecutor, who we loathe so much by the time she comes in that you just need someone to come in and rip the face off him. You're just desperate for someone to do it, and no one's really fighting for him. And clearly, she's a character who doesn't care at all what anybody thinks of her, and I found her so lethal, and I really loved that scene because it's sort of a reclamation of that brilliant brain that went to waste at the ironing board, probably. And, you know, you kind of want to see her come back to life and fight for him convincingly, because everyone else has sort of towed the line. So it was an amazing setup and really fun to do it, you know.
I think with this character, she's very interesting and with so many different layers and dynamic, but I think that it would be one of those things where you said like a dinner party with the Oppenheimers would probably be painful. So
I actually remember the first time we did the camera tests and we did our prosthetic makeup, and we were laughing so much during the camera tests, and Chris would be like, all right guys, so if you just like look at each other and then look back, and I'd look at him and we'd go like, because we just looked kind of horrifying, you know, the first time you see yourself. Because normally you go into the makeup chair and you're like, I will look better by the time I leave this trailer. And it's sort of the opposite, you know, and you're getting... And what did Chris say? He goes, laughing's cheating, or something. He said something like, come on guys, come on. You know?
Gotta keep him serious. But the thing I would say is, if there's any aspect of playing her that you found to be the most difficult or the most familiar within her sort of different sort of platitudes. And I hate to say that as a comparison because I know she's very difficult, but there's a lot of admirable qualities within the character as well.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I really admired her and empathized with her. I think so many women at that time had to kind of contort themselves into being something that was so out of character, out of nature. She was a terrible mother and certainly didn't subscribe to Good Housekeeping. You know, was just not built for it. You know, and kind of driven mad in that isolation and loneliness of Los Alamos. I did admire her. I mean, certainly a non-conformist. I mean, he's her fourth husband by the time she's 29, so...
She's going there. I think with Christopher Nolan, he definitely casts all of his actors because he sees something within them that they can access the character very easily. Like, it's almost like everyone is doing a part that is so familiar to them, they don't have to stretch that much. What do you think, as far as you playing Oppenheimer, now that maybe you've had to reflect upon it, that you found to be the most similar to maybe yourself, or the one that you found to be the most diametrically different?
Yeah, oh God, it's one of those questions. I genuinely didn't feel that much kind of connective tissue with the character. I don't think you need to have that. Me personally, I don't think I need to have that in it. I don't think there has to be that sort of exchange for me. And it was like I really, when I read it and he sent it to me, I went, holy fucking shitballs! Like I don't really know how to do this. Like I genuinely didn't know how to do this. But we had a long time. I think Chris says in his very kind of offhandish way, so, you know, I was writing the script and he had the book beside him, and apparently there was some physical resemblance. So there was that, I guess. But other than that, no. Like, I mean, he's an astonishing, never to be seen again individual. You know, a lot of his contemporaries would say that he was the most brilliant of them all, like beyond Einstein and all that. You know, so you're talking about a man that, like, that brain that will never. It's one in a million.
Well, then what part of it? Well, I would say, what part of it did you find maybe the most difficult to sort of access in your instrument?
I think I found him intensely human. Do you know? That's what people ask me about him, and they go, he was intensely, relatably human. Aside from all his genius and his flaws and his contradictions, he still was naive. You know, he still believed after that, how it happened in '45, that there would be there would be a world governance and that this genocidal weapon would be managed, and that all nations would come together and would have common sense, and that there would, you know, that he could still be that brilliant but think that, and that's intensely human. You know, so that I connected to, and you know, the relationship. You never know what goes on in any relationship. Nobody ever knows, but there was some beautiful interdependence or sort of symbiosis that kept these two together forever, and it's sustained. And that scene you were just talking about, you know, I love that scene so much because it shows how much they cared for each other, even though they probably never said it. I mean, they probably never articulated it. So that was my kind of way in, that he was a human being. Certainly wasn't the physics.
Mr. Robert Downey Jr., sir, I loved how you said that Chris told you it was Mozart and Salieri. And the thing I loved about that is I picture them the way Milos Forman put them in Amadeus. I'm not a student of history enough to go past the film, but one of the sort of conceits of that one is that Salieri loved Mozart. Yeah. And I'm wondering if there's a scene where you could maybe see that playing out with Strauss, or if you really thought that was something that you kept from the performance.
Well, this is a weird one, and tell me if it's like this for y'all. Still, this contemplation, and you know, when you get a role or a thing and you're into it, it doesn't end when you're done and it's out and you're talking about it, or even years later. It's a lifelong kind of like talisman that you can keep going back to. So I literally yesterday I just Googled Salieri, and when Mozart did Don Giovanni, Salieri had put out an opera that was actually better reviewed. and history doesn't care about that because it's decided that it was black and white. And so I think also, just like in Nolan and making that reference, he was inviting us to see, well, there's the Milos Forman version, the historical version, and now there's the revised history that we actually know more about the way we were taught incorrectly about what it was. And I think you can say the same thing about the atomic age, and you can say the same thing about when political preferences become too extreme. Strauss, particularly conservative, Oppenheimer, possibly a bit too progressive, that it just doesn't serve the people, because if they could have met in the middle of the aisle, then Atoms for Peace might have happened. And perhaps Strauss would have said, hey, you're acknowledging me. What is it that you want to do? Okay, let me show you how to deal with the UN. Let me show you how to deal with Truman. He's tricky, but I can help you. So I think that it is, as Nolan has said, it was a bit of a horror movie. I think it's a history, and it's also, it's a tragedy that, and it's something that we can do better. Just because they're geniuses and special, and we hold as the greatest generation, whatever. We're the greatest generation now. It's our job to try to do things a little better.
I don't think you told me about whether or not you think that he loved him in the inside, though. Just a little bit. Or if you think
I think there was animus, because if the first, it was always this thing about, there's